Hello and welcome to a first in the series of Market Watch. We're going to be assessing what the state of the market is and gauging what the previous week had and what we can do moving forward into the current week. With last week, these Scream cards, I got caught up in it as well. We lost some coins. Oh well, I didn't lose that many. Probably about 100k in the end. It turns out a lot of these Scream cards were super over invested in. Didn't have the demand, and because it didn't have the demand, they ended up crashing a lot. It was, yeah, not fun if you were invested in any. We got out on most of them for about what we had paid for them. And we did make some losses as well. Not too bad losses. I was doing some riskier trades. Let's just say that. So for a Friday flip, I was invested in this Pulisic card. We'd picked him up on the Friday for 100k. I thought with the content time and that and the demand for Weekend League, he was going to spike back up to around about 130k. Turns out he didn't. He dropped to like 70k. So we used him in Weekend League. It was pretty good. So generally all the Scream cards and that tanked in price, but one that was super hyped up because of like how he looks and how he sort of like is and stuff in game was Peter Crouch. He was up to like 100. He was at 130k at one stage, and then you get to the Friday, and he dropped all the way to 27k. Ooh, ouch! And then I bought one because I wanted to drop him out in game. To be fair, but he didn't get the upgrade that was wanted, and was over invested in, overhyped. Don't sell in the hype, get punished. Another thing that happened, which didn't help Crouchy price as well, and all strikers, you'll find all strikers sort of like come down, was there was a really good Evo that come out. But with this Evo, you could literally make some insane players that are at the caliber that just go straight into your first team. Look, it's got a 5-star, 5-star. Those stats. What you got, mate? As in low driven, finesse shot plus, incisive pass. Yeah, I mean not the greatest at passing, but I mean that's quite an expensive one by the look of it. But still, these are players that just going straight into people's first teams. And if they go straight into your first team, they're going to go into a lot of other people's first teams. So whatever position that is, it's just going to bring all those players down, like we've seen with many other Evos at the moment, with the left wing one that come out with the Adama Pace one or whatever. That dropped all the left wingers. We've had, well, this one. There's a right wing one that's just come out. So all right wings, I would put money on it that they've tanked down in price if the Evo is making it so that players are going straight into people's first teams. So we can gauge how the market is doing as a whole. If we look at a player that is going straight into people's weekend league teams, a meta player that goes straight into people's teams. This is a little while back. This is like Halloween or whatever, but we can gauge it week by week to see how to then go about it in future. The times will vary because people have the same information and then they do the same sort of like similar sort of thing, especially if the investors and that start recognizing a pattern. But anyways, leading up to the Friday, The market then is meta player or whatever, tanks into Saturday, continues tanking into Sunday, and then he's reached his sort of like bottom Sunday this time. Well, a bit after content. And now he's sort of like reached his new true value after the market correction. So Monday and Tuesday, a bit more gameplay demand, maybe on the Wednesday. Leading up, still floating about 60 sort of K. Gets into the Friday, takes another dip into Saturday. Carries on, going down into Sunday, then reaches his new sort of price, as it were. How do we gauge this? Well, Fridays, by the look of this, looks like it's a sell day. What's that, 4 p.m? Sell before 4 p.m. on Friday. You possibly can get some dips by the look of it. Saturday early morning, when people are sort of selling stuff up after the what they call the Friday bubble, which is between 6 and 8 UK time, PM. But if you get any on Saturday, you want to be selling again before 8 on the Saturday. Probably a similar sort of thing on the Sunday. Although, by the look of it, is people are probably finishing off their weekend league, getting their rewards, opening their reward packs and stuff, and you see more of a dip going into late Sunday. So late Sunday does look like it could be potentially a decent buy time for any cards that have over dropped. Any cards on the market seem like you want to be getting in and out of them unless they can particular ones that are going to hold their value really well. Because these Evos just come out, and then whatever position these Evos come out, they just freaking destroy the price. It might make you wonder if these Evos come out with the leakers and then whatever the position is, then everyone floods to the market and sells them beforehand or after. But sometimes you don't know how good they are. It's just a bit frustrating because of the leakers and that. It's like that. Well, I mean, they've got the leaks, so they can like literally just get their whole trading sort of like philosophy or methods and all that, and use the leaks ahead of time and influence the whole market. It's literally market manipulation. So, which is against EA's terms of service. But what are you going to do? There's not really a lot we can do about it. We just have to sort of like roll with it, as it were. Yeah, there's my little rant. Little moan in there. Little old man moan. Oh, quick mention. I quite like these Star Performer cards. They're going to be very rare on the market. And once they go out of packs, they will have a lovely spike before then correcting down. So what's happening here? Goes out of packs, has a big old spike in price, then gets sold back down. Bit of a correction, as it were. There's some more demand spike. These are pretty big fluctuations going on here. So a player like this, you get him within the 350 range, you might be able to sell at 400 by the look of that. Still a bit risky. But he's got the hype at the moment. Even a card like this, he will have the rarity spikes later on in the day, or when the card gets rarer, he will suddenly sort of like shoot up in price, because there's hardly any on the market. But even Friday, it's like, depending on what the content is, or say a centre-back Evo come out. Say you're holding this card. You bought it for 350. You're then planning on selling it, we'll just say 400. It gets to content time, and a centre-back Evo comes out that is a centre-back Evo that is pretty good, and it's putting players in people's first teams. This card and all other centre-backs are just they're gonna get destroyed. I think there's a couple of centre-back ones out. I don't know. There's that Portuguese back line one that doesn't particularly seem that great. So this one isn't one that's upgradable, I think. But a player like Anthony Gordon will have the upgradable player. And people love themselves on live cards. The live cards and that were some of the few that carried on going up and up, sort of like after they'd sort of like got out of packs last year. So I will be this is something I'm going to be watching very closely, these particular players. And if there's a specific player, like I would like a Gordon for my team, if there's a specific player that I would like, then I'm just going to try and get him for a decent price and then just play with him in my team. And if he goes up, it goes up. I'll gauge the situation as it comes and possibly sell him if he goes up. Or if he goes down, I've got use out of the card. I'm not too fussed. At the moment, you have every inform. They seem to be needed a lot in the SPCs, going for 13k. If you wanted to pick up any informs, I would say go for someone who either looks like they're going to fit into an Evo pretty soon, or slightly higher rated ones, 84s and above. If you're looking for the SBC solution, sort of like holding for potentially the SBC solution ones. So this one's an interesting one because it's Brazilian and Prem might have a decent skill moves and weak foot. If he fits into an Evo, that card could be very, very good. Although they don't seem to be doing the they seem to be a bit lower rated ones at the moment, but putting them sort of like quite considerably up in rating. I'm very interested in the 86 rateds at the moment because the other day they were going for about 13k, which I thought was a very good price considering like all the 80s and 84s or whatever are all going for 13k as well. I was like, bonus. If you look at the multiple different ones, as in the methods that I like are ones that have multiple aspects, like such as, I mean, this guy's base stats sort of like look very good, and he has loads of playstyles, 4-star, 4-star. He does look usable. So, I mean, we've got like gauntlet and tournaments coming up. So this Chawinga or whatever, a lot of pace, was used in a lot of people's teams. That could go up a bit in price for the gauntlet teams. Weekend league, maybe, using it as a super sub. I don't know if people spend a lot on super subs. 17k, Shanaloglu. That's decent shout, to be fair. He has Incisive Pass Plus, I think. Yep. Incisive Pass Plus. 4-star, 5-star. Looks like a very meta card. Not the greatest in nation. People are building a lot of Serie A teams though at the moment, and there's been a lot of promo cards with Serie A, so could be worth a shout, to be fair. I can see that one actually rising up. Rising up. I can see that one rising up to about 20k, sort of like fairly quick by the look of it. But even a player like that will come to Friday, it's probably not going to have that much of a drop like the rest of the market. So even if you've got these players and that, and they're holding their value for like the SBCs and that, if the whole market has dropped, or say it comes to Sunday, say the whole market has dropped on Sunday. You've got these players invested, these sort of like fodder cards or ones that are sort of like needed for SBCs and that. You sell them off on the Sunday, or there's a decent SBC that comes out on the Sunday. You sell them off, you get your profit. You can then dip into other cards that have sort of like been oversold for the weekend league, and then you have like Monday and Tuesday from the graph we saw for Verts. You got Monday and Tuesday and that before Wednesday. It takes a little bit of a dip, it seemed to, and then it sort of like rebounded for the Thursday and the Friday a little bit. You still can sort of like hold through that if you're willing to. Obviously, there's a certain element of risk because of the evolutions or what other content comes out, but you can sort of like hold through that if you're willing to risk it, or take your coins when they have a bit of a bump in price throughout the week. But it does look like you should really sell before the Friday, which with the graphs and that we looked at. So people seem to love themselves an Evo, especially a paid Evo. I mean, look at these stats. That's, yeah, Endrick and that. People loved himself an Endrick the other year. 5-star skill moves, loads of play styles, 4-star weak foot. Look at those stats. That's pretty decent. I'm not sure when the leaks happened, but between 11 and 12, literally dropped from 430k down to 390 on the Sunday. So this one's a little bit more difficult to gauge because you have all the weekend league sell off on the Sunday as well, after people have finished off their weekend league and the rewards. Maybe that Evo isn't as meta as a Festival 4. Yeah, that one I'm not too sure because of the timing of when the Evo was released. I don't know if it was the evolution that has dropped the price of the right wingers, or it's just a natural demand sort of like dropping with weekend league sort of like finishing off, or people finishing off their games 2 to 3 on the Sunday. What can we do going into the week? I'll be looking for more low risk investments. These scream, I mean, it was a big hit for a lot of people, including some very experienced traders, that people don't like the 99s. The thing is, the 99s, I tried them in game, and they didn't seem like nowhere near as good as what I thought they would. I literally just got out of some of these scream cards and that to put the others that I had in my team back in my team, because the scream cards just didn't seem good enough. It seemed to be more on the actual play styles than the face stats on the card. Don't get me wrong, they did make a little bit of difference, but I wouldn't say it was like game changing. It was just a bit disappointing. And if you didn't sell into the hype, you got really burned. Anyways, learn from it and move on. So what would I be buying? I'll be buying our packed specials. Probably not the Scream ones. Although, if it hasn't got the hype now, they might be decent to trade with. I think people have got burned a lot by them, so they're sort of like trying to stay away from them. So it might actually be a good place to sort of go. I'll be looking at these primetime heroes and primetime players, because they will, some of them, be getting the upgrades at some point, and people love themselves a live card, so I'll be monitoring their price. The star performers, any others sort of like pop up, they will have hardly any sort of supply on the market because they were only available for a few days. So with the low supply comes the rarity spikes. If you're buying any players for your team or your gauntlet teams, I would be trying to rotate out of them on Friday, unless you don't mind getting a bit of a hit on the price that you get, which is so frustrating because I know the demand spikes, but it's like when people are done with their teams on the Sunday and that, it's just, you lose so many coins from the Friday to the Sunday. Oh, it's brutal. But what are you gonna do? During the whole week, it seems sort of like fairly stable by the look of it, unless you have the Evos that come out. Going into the week ahead, I'll be trading with out-of-pack specials, quick flips, not holding them for too long. Any investments you have would be ones like fodder cards that are needed for like SPCs and should hold their value well. If you get them for a good price, like 88s for 14k, 15k, they should naturally rise when they are needed, and demand is sort of like increased. When it comes to team of the weeks, at the moment, when it comes to team of the weeks, they are 13k at the moment. I'll be trying to get them to like as close to discard value as possible, but if you can't get those sort of like, I'd be looking for players that potentially could be evoed up, that would create like when they're needed for an evo, would create the hype surrounding them. Good leagues, good nations. I'm really interested in the 86 rated at the moment, and 87s don't look like too bad of a price when it comes to the inform ones. They're I'd say 86s below 14,000 coins, 87s below 18,000, 17,000 sort of like coins would be a good buy for them. And then if they've got multiple things good going for them as well, like could potentially be used in Wigan League or Gauntlet Squads or whatever, then that would probably be a better one than just sort of like a standard one that would be just used as fodder. This one's interesting. I like Campos. He's not actually too far off of the actual fodder price. If he actually come down to fodder price, I'll pick up a few of them. So yeah, like Monday he was 15.5k, which like is only 1,000 off of the fodder price for 88s. So this is what I'm going to be concentrating on, and what I think is going to be happening with the up and coming sort of like week in the market, and what has previous happened. We are looking at that to predict what hopefully will end up happening, and using that as our base. So if there's anything you think I've missed, or your prediction varies a lot from mine, please let me know in the comments below. You've been watching Tark's Flips, and I hope you have a good day.